Okay, cool. So let's get started. Sorry for the delay. My name is Jeffrey. We're going to be talking about some commonly asked micro macro questions. Going to go over the answer choices, find the right one, and then also see if the answer that our previous tutor gave is actually correct. So with that being said, let's just jump right into that first question. The first question says, which of the following statements applies to a purely competitive producer? A, it will not advertise its product. B, in long run equilibrium, it will earn an economic profit. C, its product will have a brand name. Or D, its product is slightly different from those of its competitors. So again, we're talking about pure competition, and we know that there's three criteria that we use to judge pure competition by. The first is that there's a very large number, theoretically infinite number of producers in this market, which means that all firms are price takers. Two, that there's free entry and exit into the market, so there's no barriers to starting up in this market, and there's no barriers to leaving this market. And third is that all the goods that these producers produce will be homogeneous and identical, which means there's no ability to differentiate whether a good comes from one producer or another. And that's our three criteria for purely competitive, for pure competition, right? And so let's break this down into each answer choice and see which one is going to best match with those three criteria. So A says that it will not advertise its product. And this is definitely in fitting with our criteria. And the reason is that you only advertise if there's something that would potentially differentiate your product from another person's product, right? Like advertising is something that happens very commonly in monopolistic competition, where you have a large number of producers who produce slightly varied or slightly differentiated products. But in a market like with pure competition, where there's no ability to differentiate, there's really no incentive to advertise, especially since because all firms are price taker, there's no ability to make a positive economic profit in the long run, right? So A is going to be a really good answer here, but let's go down the line and continue with B, C, and D. B says that in long run equilibrium, it will earn an economic profit, and we just talked about this. In long run equilibrium, because firms are price takers, what that means is that a firm's market graph is going to look something like this, right? You're going to have a flat demand curve, which is the price set by the market, right? You have a supply curve, and so you can see here that there's no there's no ability for a producer to earn positive profits here, because it's simply producing as a price taker, and there's no additional profit to be made here. So this is what we would see as the long run equilibrium. C says its product will have a brand name, and again, this is when we see that people are going to be differentiating based off of some sort of character trait of their good, and that's going to happen mostly in monopolistic competition. Once again, not really pure competition. And finally, D, its product is slightly different from those of its competitors. Again, that's monopolistic competition, not pure competition. So A is still going to be the best answer here. I want to go with A. And so the previous tutor also picked A, and they said that in a purely competitive market, there are countless purchasers and vendors who produce standardized as well as indistinguishable products on account of which they have no influence over the price. They are additionally called price takers. As the organizations are delivering standardized as well as indistinguishable items, they have no rationale to advertise their items as it won't influence their sales. The right answer is the first alternative because it won't promote its product. So yeah, that's a good answer, and we're going to just mark that as correct.